3 cars, 3 manufacturers, 3 tests, 1 track. It's the Hypercar Shootout.
So hey everybody, it's Mark, your friend from Slot Journal. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. In fact, a lot of the video you're going to see today and some of the testing was actually done a few months back. I just had it in the can. It's just taken me a while to get everything organized, get my thoughts together on it, and put together in a video that I hope you'll find interesting and will maybe be a subject for some discussion. I know a lot of people probably watch this channel and Mark, this is great stuff. You talk so much about, building and track construction, all that stuff. Maybe we should talk a little bit more about cars. So, well, that's what this is going to be about today. We're going to talk about some cars. And we're going to take 3 different cars, 3 different manufacturers. We're doing 3 tests. And after that, we're going to look at the results and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. I've always had a hypothesis that the cars from what we call the hobbyist manufacturers, the higher end cars, and I'm talking like Scaleauto, NSR, those type of cars. What I'm saying is that the advantages that those kind of cars have to offer may not be as apparent on the typical home track as they would on a commercial track, a large track, a racing track somewhere where people are putting a lot of time and effort to tune these cars and to get them ready for racing. And what we're doing here in this case is we're taking these cars right out of the box, just like they came from the factory. And, we're doing a little bit of lubrication, making some adjustments. But other than that, that's all we're doing. We're not changing any components. They all have the factory tires. And we're going to run them and test them and see what we've got. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the track. We'll describe the parameters of the test, talk about the track. We're going to talk about the cars, the specs of the cars, weight, all those different things. We're going to run those tests. And then after we're done, we're going to talk about the results we got. And we're going to think about how this can affect your racing, your experience with these cars, and how we can enjoy them. Now, the cars we're running, these are all what we would call modern era hypercars. Ones that either run at Le Mans or IMSA. Like at Daytona, those kind of places. That's the kind of cars I like. If you come look at the cars I drive and collect, they go back from classic Le Mans cars to the Group C, Can-Am, and then the modern LMPs and hypercars. Basically, the type of cars that were built from the ground up for racing. Not converted consumer cars or, saloons or anything that was, made into a race car. These are cars that were designed from the ground up to be raced. Same way that a Formula One car would be. But again, I prefer this type of car. So that's what we're starting with. We got 3 hypercars. So let's get going. Now this track is an Arton track, and it's plastic track. It's painted. All the seams and everything were filled. The whole thing was copper taped. So, running on this is not going to be typical for a plastic track, again, because of the painted surface. All right, so before we do our timing here, I'm going to get the track cleaned up a little bit. Just get any dust or anything off it. Best tool for this is actually one of these. I picked this up at Dollar Tree actually for $1.25, and it fits pretty much perfectly on this 2-lane track to clean it off. So usually hit this, go over it once and get this clean. So the temperature down here, it's about 63.8 degrees, about 40% humidity, which is typical. Well, actually, it's a little bit lower most of the time than that. It usually runs about 26 to 30. That's not too bad. And track temperature, let's take a look at that. 64.9, almost 65 degrees. It's a little bit better than typically in the dead of winter. Right here it's about 62, closer to the wall. Let's take another reading over here. 63. Now, as you know, if you've watched this channel at all, the track is still under construction, but we start out down here. We're at basically the base level of the track. We go up over a bridge into the town. From the town, we go across a curve there to another curve, and then we come back down an incline, back down to the base level. We go through this bridge, up through another curve, and then we go down our longest straightaway on this upper level, which is probably about maybe 8.5, 9 feet long. Come through this R3 curve, and then we head up into the hills, as it were. Go up and up into what I call the alpine section of the track. Go around this curve. And here you can see how much higher we are above the base level of the track. And then down this pretty challenging series of curves here to get back down to the lower portion of the track, and then back to our starting point again. Now, nothing fancy here on the controllers. I'm using a basic 45 ohm Parma controller, which I've been using for years. So again, no adjustable braking, although I do have braking set up on this right now. And you may want to note here on the videos while we're doing the testing, the track, we get some natural distortion because of that wide angle lens. The back wall of the track, it's actually about 11 feet wide. There's the curves. The straight portion itself is probably about 9.5 feet. But again, overall, it's a nice, challenging track. There's some good variations and levels. So overall, it makes for a good testing. Another reminder here, this is how we do our testing. And primarily, this is how I run most of the cars on the home track. And these are done out of the box. They're dead stock. I do some inspections, some lubrication, some adjustments. That's fine. No modifications are made to the cars. Don't change any parts. Don't change any tires. They're run with the tires that they came with from the factory. So just be aware of that. So the first car we're going to look at is the Acura ARX 05 from 2022. This slotted car represents the car that came in first of the 24 Hours of Daytona. It's number 60. It was driven by Castroneves, Pagano, Jarvis, and Blomqvist. The catalog number on this is CA56A. So again, for the slotted, there's the body separate. Very small compartment detail there, so doesn't take up much weight. We'll weigh that in a minute. And again, for the chassis, again, it's the next step up from sophistication from, the flat Scalextric chassis. You got a separate motor pod here. This is just really smooth as butter. Here, nice and quiet. You can see there's a magnet back there underneath the axle. Some adjustment here you can make for this. Again, all typical stuff. Good stuff. But again, it's a little more advanced chassis that you'll find on a slotted. Very nice. And let's go ahead and we'll weigh these. So the body on this is, wow, 19 grams, very nice. And our chassis, 60, it's about 80, 79, 80 grams. So that's excellent. All right, so we've set up lap tracker on the iPhone here for timing, and we're going to run 10 laps and see what she does. So overall, you can see this car is a really nice, smooth, consistent runner. Had good grip in the track, nice, smooth speed, acceleration. Did get the littlest bit of drifting on a couple of the curves, but again, grip was really good with the stock tires and really enjoyable kind of drive here. Exactly what I would expect from the Slot.it. All right, so let's look at the numbers for the Acura. We did 10 laps. The overall race time was 1 minute and 4 seconds. The fastest lap we did was 6.27 seconds over the 50-foot track length. The average lap was 6.4 seconds. So it's a pretty good, very good time for this track. So our next test car is going to be the Scalextric. It's the Cadillac V Series R. This is from Whalen Engineering. I believe this one ran a Le Mans in 2023. And again, the catalog number on this one is C4515. So you can see the Scalextric. I mean, again, the quality, the body is fine. It's very, very good. You know, it represents one of Scalextric's better efforts, I think, recently. And very good. Doesn't weigh too much. We'll weigh that in a minute. As far as the chassis, it's just what you'd expect. Nice movement here. I mean, it's pretty smooth. I can feel a little bit of cogging in the gear, but we'll adjust that a little bit. But overall, you can see the magnet, typical motor. Nothing unusual here. It's got lights. Not bad. And I do like the fact they put silver wheels on this car. I know a lot of actual racers have black ones, but I always think cars look better with any color wheel other than black because it looks like just a big black hole in the wheel well. So I actually do like this. But again, typical what you would expect from the Scalextric. So to get this on the scale, let's see. We want grams. So the body, about 30 grams for the body. Chassis, 58. So about 88 grams total for the car. Not bad. Okay, so let's get 10 laps on this Scaley and see what happens. So in driving this Scalextric Cadillac, it's pretty much what you would expect from a Scaley. Got a little more grip, obviously. top speed is not what you're going to get from a Slot.it or any other car. You can tell that on the straightaway. You don't get the acceleration, that you would expect in another car with a, faster motor. But overall, it's very pleasurable to drive. It's very fun, and it's a joy. You do still get a little bit of drifting in some of the corners if you push it a little too hard, but again, it stays on the track. So overall, the experience is a pretty smooth one. And here's our results for the Scalextric Cadillac. Again, 10 laps. Our overall race time was 1 minute and 15 seconds, obviously a little slower than the Slot.it. Fastest lap was 7.27 seconds. Again, not quite a second slower than the fastest lap on the Acura, and the average lap was 7.5 seconds, which is again about a second roughly slower than you would get on that Slot.it Acura. So again, no surprises here. This is the kind of performance you would expect from a Scalextric like this. Okay, so the final car in our test is going to be the Scaleauto. It's the Porsche 963 GTP. It's the Team Jota Hertz car. Ran at the Spa in 2023. I think the drivers were Antonio Felix da Costa, Will Stevens, and Yefei. Catalog number on this is SC6331. And so here we are with the Scaleauto body. Again, wonderfully done. This wing just snaps into place. So, I mean, it does come out easy. So be very careful with it. It's very thin. Again, very, lightly detailed cockpit there. I'm sure it doesn't weigh too much. Just a gorgeous body. And here we get like kind of the ultimate level of sophistication, another step up. This racing chassis is really something else. And again, this is the pro level chassis from Scaleauto. You can see all the spaces here, the cutouts, everything to lighten the chassis. 22.5 RPM motor in the pod. And oh man, this one is just really smooth as butter. Just beautiful work they did on here. Now, this car has no magnet. Somebody tells me the newer ones like this, the Cadillacs that they have, the Scaleauto just put out, actually do have a magnet. Not sure why they didn't put one in here, but again, this car was really designed for racing. Obviously it would perform fine on a wood track or maybe a, high performance plastic track, with long straights, wide sweeping curves, ones that are, you can really step up and see the difference that a chassis like this would make. But just beautiful work here. Let's weigh it. And let's see, the body. We're at 17 grams. And we're at 70 grams for the chassis. So that puts us about, 87 total. Very nice lightweight car. All right, so we'll get this Scaleauto Porsche on my humble little track, and we'll see what kind of times we can get out of it. 10 laps. Okay, so what's immediately evident with this car is that, or it does not have the grip in the back end. I'm getting some extreme fishtailing on this going around the curves, particularly when on the left-hand side of the track here, when I'm coming down that hill. You're coming downhill at a pretty decent speed. The back end is just swinging out all over the place. The other thing that's immediately obvious is the power motor in this car is really good. I mean, when you give it a little bit of acceleration, you can just feel the power there. Unfortunately, on a straight here that's probably about 9.5 feet long in the back, you just can't really take advantage of all that torque and power that you have in this engine. So again, that's another thing that's immediately evident here. But overall, otherwise the car is handles pretty smooth, but you do get really nice response with it. Okay, here are the final numbers we have on this Scaleauto Porsche. And the numbers aren't what I'm sure most people would have expected. We get 10 laps. Our overall race time was 1 minute and 28 seconds. The fastest lap we could get on this course was 8.71 seconds. The average lap was about 8.8 seconds. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, and it's not that this is not a fast car. I think everybody knows that this is a car that's actually made for racing, but there are some lessons we can learn running it on a home track, and we'll talk about that a little bit next. So there you have it. Those are the results I got on my track, okay? Now, I know a lot of you are going to watch this and you're going to say, but Mark, that wasn't fair. That's Scalextric car and that Slot.it car, they had the magnets in. The Scaleauto doesn't have one. That's not a fair test. And I'm going to tell you, yeah, you're right. It wasn't a fair test. But that's the way the car came from the manufacturer. And it goes to point out some of the factors that go into how you enjoy cars on your track in your house. I'm not talking about racing. This is so people who are new to the hobby can understand, people, bump up one kind of car or say this car's the best, that car's the best. It depends on so many different factors. And the primary factor is what kind of track are you racing on? How do you like to race? What kind of controller are you using? Those are the things that really matter. Now, believe me, everybody knows that if I was going to go racing with some friends at a club track or commercial track somewhere, I'm going to pick that Scaleauto car. It's going to beat the pants off that Scalextric anytime. And the Slot.it could probably be made to go almost as fast. But I mean, you're talking a different ball game. It's a different application. Your experience may vary, and it may depend a lot on your particular situation. What I'm trying to do is give maybe new people who don't have that much knowledge, help them understand that a lot more goes into it than just, what car is more expensive, what car has the best components. A lot of cars that are less expensive can give you a good, pleasurable, fun experience on your home track. Now, it's interesting. I talked to the folks at Scaleauto at one point because it was apparent to me that the newer hypercars they were making did come from the factory with magnets. At one point, a decision was made after making that first Porsche that they decided to, send them out from the factory with a magnet at the back of the motor pod. And that's the way you'll find, I think, most of them today. Why they made that decision, I don't know. And I'm sure I just got a new Peugeot from Scaleauto, and it does have a magnet. I'll test it against these and compare the results to see what difference it makes. Now, I'll take this Porsche, the Scaleauto, and, I'll tune it up. I'm sure one way or another, I can get that car to run good on my home track. And that's something, it'll be something I'll probably talk about. And maybe, that's a little adventure we'll go through together, how to get the better performance. Because everybody knows we can get that car to perform better. It's as simple as that. Another thing I want to talk about is the fact that I drive most of my cars box stock. That is the way they came from the factory. I don't do a lot of modifications in my car. I don't add a lot of new parts and components. First of all, it saves me a lot of money not having to do that. Two, the kind of cars I drive, again, these hypercars, modern racing cars, they need to be stuck down to the track. If you watch a real live race, that's how modern cars are. And they're not, drifting all around the track, like rally cars and those type of things. If you're racing those kind of slot cars and other kinds of cars, stock cars, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's fun. That seems natural. And if I had those kind of cars, my approach would probably be different. Maybe two main takeaways from this is one, there's a difference between tuning and modification. A lot of people seem to get them mixed up. I don't know. Changing the tires, that's kind of a gray area. But when I'm talking tuning, or, people are talking tuning for the most part, you're talking lubrication, making adjustments to the car as it is. Anytime you go adding parts, whether it's a new guide, you're changing axles, you're making other modifications, changing components of the car, that's a modification. That's a totally different thing. The other thing I want to talk about, I want to stress, is above all the other factors, track matters. Driving on a home track where you've got, short straights, maybe your longest straight is like 6 or 7 feet. You've got a lot of R1s and R2s. It's a totally different thing than driving on a long track where you've got maybe you've got like 16-foot straights, a lot of that wide sweeping, R3s and R4s. That's a whole different experience. And the kind of car that can perform on one best is not always the kind of car that performs best on the other one. So keep in mind, track matters. Believe me, I'm not advocating for people to do things the way I do it, although there's a lot of people out there who will advocate for you to do things their way, that it's the only right way. But, that's not me. You do you. You do whatever makes you, happy and gives you the most enjoyment in the hobby. What I'm just saying is there's a lot of different approaches to having fun in the hobby, and this just happens to be mine. So there you have it. That's our shootout. I know if you have comments and thoughts, please leave them in the comments on the video. I want to hear what you have to say. Again, I'm open to all different arguments and thoughts on this. I'm pretty open-minded. Again, I just wanted to share the results I got and make it a point of discussion for people to talk about. Because again, this is a growing hobby, at least I feel it is. And we want to make sure people have all the information out there they need to make good decisions that'll help them enjoy the hobby going into the future. So with that said, that's all for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, feel free to leave some comments. I'd love to hear from you. And until then, happy racing, and let's step on it.